Yo, what up guys, it's Flark. And I wanted to make a real quick video, probably my quickest guide video I've ever made, on Blood DK, starter guide for that. It is a tank specialization, so I know a lot of people are turned away by that, but at least we don't have 6 immunities like Prop Palities or our Guardian Druids, so you should probably direct your anger at those specs first, and maybe let some of the Blood DKs have a little bit of leniency here with that. But yeah, if you're looking to play Blood, it actually cranks in BGs, random BGs. It does fine in skirms. It actually has decent output and tremendous cleave output. It could even be a good team fighter in rated battlegrounds. I don't think it's going to be much of a flag carrier, which makes the build diversity for Blood DK very limited because most of the talents are for tankiness. We don't have a lot of team utility, so effectively what you're doing is you're grabbing all of the most offensive pressure you can get, and that's the only build you're going to run. Again, except for flag carrying and RBGs, but rated battlegrounds aren't out yet, and I don't know if Blood DK is going to be much of an FC anyway. So this is a guide to get you doing a ton of output, being in the front lines, cranking damage, AoE grip, Gorefiend's Grasp, double grip, just pulling everybody into a pile, cleaving them with death chains, cleaving them with burst. You have a new talent that's very interesting that I can't wait to get to, and I'll show you a little rundown of what that looks like on the dummies, and yeah, that's all I'm going to do here. So it should be very simple, very quick, and very smooth to get you into Blood DK battlegrounds or solo shuffle or skirms or even rated 3s if you have a teammate that'll let you play it, whatever makes you happy. Again, we are not as naughty as Guardian Druids, so let us have this. Okay, gearing. This building, easy peasy, you should know it by now. Over there is the honor vendor, and over there is the tokens vendor. Easy. As for gear, just get a full set of the honor stuff. The like everybody mentioned, the Bloody Tokens gear, the set bonus doesn't even work in rated or instanced PvP, even though it scales up in those brackets. So you're really just getting the item level, not the set bonus. So you might as well just get a full set of honor gear. And of course, you want haste and verse on every piece. You would probably go some crit if crit wasn't nerfed in PvP, but it is. So haste is a better stat. Your mastery is fine in that it gives you attack power, but it's actually just lower output in every possible way than verse. So easy decision there. Verse is just better for you in a PvP environment. Verse, haste, and you're good. Grab a badge because you can macro it to Dancing Rune Weapon. So just put Dancing Rune Weapon and your badge in a macro. Grab one of those and you just have more burst in that big burst window. So that's awesome. Of course, you want a 2-handed weapon with Rune of Evolving Crusader, and just grab, you know, any enchants that you can afford. This is a pre-season, this is a starting guide. It's not even rated PvP. I'm not gonna make you spend 20,000 gold on a gem or an enchant or something. Just buy whatever you can afford and you're good. It's fine. Gearing's not that important. We already figured that out in the other videos. What you guys really care about are the talents, right? The talent builds. And like I said, there's really just the one. Because again, you don't need your tank. You're tanky. And again, if you don't have the flag in your hands, you will not die. So you go all the offensive in any team utility you can get, and you get a lot of offensive pressure there. And you actually do have a ton, like I said. So let's talk about it. First 5, this doesn't matter. It's just all your core abilities. Just look at these. They are rotational. You need them. Cool. You got the Dancing Rune Weapon package that is extremely important. This gives you Dancing Rune Weapon, which mirrors your attacks, does more damage. Then you get Bone Shield charges, which are going to be great with Shattering Bone, which we'll talk about in just a second. That's the one I'm really excited for. And it also reduces the cooldown of Dancing Rune Weapon, which I don't need to explain why that's insanely good. And then, it summons another copy and increases its duration by 8 seconds. So those 3 talents as part of a package make Dancing Rune Weapon a very impactful cooldown and actually crank very hard, even in a PvP environment. Then, of course, you get Hemostasis, which makes your Death Strike do more damage, which is important. You go down and get some versatility, which is more damage, and then more damage from rapid decomposition for D&D and Blood Plague. And D&D is actually very valuable because of Unholy Ground and Sanguine Ground, making D&D presses matter a lot more on Blood. You grab in this row, you could get Consumption if you're only going to do BGs and you just want another AoE hit. It's fine, it doesn't crank that hard, but Blood Drinker actually has some single target pressure and it can do it at a range. So it's kind of an interesting channel that can actually finish people off if they're just about to get away. And since Blood DK has no ranged pressure at all, Blood Drinker is pretty good for that. So it solves a weakness. Bloodworms do damage. Coag makes them take more damage. Sanguine, I just talked about, more damage in D&D. Blood Shield, not that useful, but the next thing after, this is extremely impactful. You could just go the Gorefiend's Grasp makes people take 5% more damage, and you'd think I would pick that. It's very rarely up, and if you ever drop your Blood Shield, so that you see how the duration is increased and it absorbs more. If you ever drop this, you immediately lose your Bloodshot value, which is 25% permanent increased physical damage. But if you notice that you're just never dropping Blood Shield, all you have to do is right-click this, swap over there. See, you can do the exact same thing. So now you get a faster Gorefiends and a little bit more damage at the cost of a little bit of survivability and potentially not perma Bloodshot. But if you're not having a problem with that, that's totally fine. Then you have more Death Strike modifiers, and then right down here is a little bit of Bone Shield modifiers, which don't really matter, but you have maximum health increase, which is nice for survivability. Then you have haste, which is fantastic. Then you have armor, which is not that great, but when you go down this line, you get this Tombstone, right? And this consumes Bone Shield charges, and you're like, okay, well, that's whatever. I mean, I get Runic Power, which I'm not really having too much of a problem generating that as blood, especially when nobody's targeting me. And I get an Absorb Shield, but I'm already tanky, like you said, so what's the point? Well, the point is, generally people don't attack blood DK. And you have this talent called Shattering Bone. And when a Bone Shield is consumed, it deals a ton of AoE damage, which is even tripled while you're in D&D. So remember how I said D&D was important? Well, now it just got 10 times more important. So much so that we'll talk about Death's Echo, not for the other utility, but actually for the second D&D charge. But that's a ton of damage. Like, that's a ton of AoE damage. But if you're not getting attacked, then the Bone Shields don't break. So you have this Tombstone to break the Bone Shields, not only manually, but all 5 of them at the same time, or 5 out of the 10, not all 5 because there's 10 in total, but 5 of them at the same time every minute, which is just this crazy nuke, which you compare with Death Chains, which we'll also talk about in a second, to do even more crazy nuke. And yeah, that's actually wild, and I'll show you on the dummy what it looks like, but it's a big burst of AoE damage. It's crazy. It's like you have AoE cooldowns, single target burst with the Death Strike, the big Death Strike hits, single target burst with the Dancing Rune weapon package, and then more physical damage, pretty much perma from Bloodshot. That's a lot of modifiers that actually matter as blood, and when it comes to BG padding, you are actually top dog. Like, I swear, Blood DK does as much damage as a lot of things right now. Pretty wild. Of course, on the left side, I went all the offensive and team utility things that I could get. We got Ghoul, which makes them take more damage, give me more strength. We have the D&D modifiers, and of course, like I said, Death's Echo, double D&D charge. If you're not getting the Sanguine procs, you're just unlucky and you need permanent D&D, you can actually just get it from Death's Echo. Now you have the double grip, the double Death's Advance, so you have utility, and you have double D&D. So you have perma D&D for your perma Tombstone Shattering Bone value, all right? You get one of the charges of Unholy Bond then, and the Fallen Crusader is just buffed to give you more strength. You have Rune Mastery, giving you more strength for more damage, A-Bomb Limb for more damage, and Power for more haste, which means more damage, attack power, more damage, right? You can see where we're going with this. Asphyx is utility. Double Chains is utility. Zone for your teammates is utility. Lots of really good stuff there. Blind is utility. Getting out of stuns is very valuable. So you have a lot of value there. As far as team utility, it's mostly in the form of CC. You have a lot of value in damage modifiers. You have Zone, which is nice, a very nice defensive. And you have Limb, which is now nerfed, but it still yanks a couple people in. And when you pair it with Gorefiends, you can definitely get people in for an AoE stun. And Double Grip is still very powerful for getting people out of the team fight or stopping casts or all the things that Death Grip can do. And yeah, it's pretty dang interesting. So let's talk about the PvP talents and then set right over to the dummies. Now, the PvP talents are pretty set in stone. Death Chain, I've talked about this in the pre-patch video, but in case you haven't seen it, this is an interesting ability. Very interesting. When you press it, the 3 closest people, and they got to be kind of grouped up, not that close, but you got to make sure there's 3 people around. So Gorefiends or A-Bomb Limb or Double Grip all can make that happen easily. Especially in the BG, there's always going to be 3 people around, but it'll chain them together. Does some damage, and then all the damage that one of them takes is taken by the other in the chain, 20% of that value. So if you're cleaving them, it's like multiplicatively increasing that damage because one of them takes the hits that the other took, and then the others take the hits that he took, and it's just like, it's pretty impactful. But also, that counts as all damage taken, including your teammates. So in Battlegrounds, when you have 10 people behind you, slaughtering everybody in front of you, all that damage, all that burst damage, all their AoE cleave, all that nuke, affected by Death Chain. Wow, that is huge pressure. And when you combine that with Blood for Blood, which makes Heartstrike just do 60% more damage, and that's multiplicative with the physical buff from Bloodshot. Oh, and also decomp aura to make everybody have less maximum health, which is really impactful since everybody has so much health now. You're really taking those numbers way down when everybody gets the Conquest gear. You're actually an output machine. You have high output, you're very disruptive, tons of CC, tons of burst damage, tons of AoE burst, grips, utility. It's a decent BG spec, it really is. Of course, I don't think people are going to be pushing rank 1 with it, but maybe I'll be wrong for the first time here with Blood DK's efficiency in a rated 3s environment. Solo Shuffle is a different story, though, because you're only compared to other Blood DKs. Wow. So this build will be impactful then. But yeah, let's take a look at the dummies real quick. So you walk in there, you limb, you D&D, pop your Empower, Dancing Rune Weapon, get the Blood Boil out, Death Chains them, and then Tombstone. And want to see something here? Let's see how much damage that did. Shattering Bone, what is that? 100,000, Death Chain, 150k, that's just from mine. No PvP scaling, right, in this dummies. But look at that, I pressed a button for 100k AoE damage. That's awesome. That's a huge hit, and that's without PvP scaling. You can press a button. Am I gonna get this nerfed? You can press a button for like 140,000 damage in PvP as Blood DK. Wow. And that and Limb and Cleave and D&D and Dancing Rune Weapon and Death Chains, you can be a difference maker. Am I getting this nerfed? You could be a difference maker. I might be getting you nerfed. We'll see how good it is in BGs. Maybe they don't balance based on BGs for once, you know? Balance based on 3s, Blizzard. It shouldn't be that overpowered in 3s. Okay. Have fun. See you around.